Oh, so this is like special bonus time. Yeah. Give them a taste. Give them just the good stuff. Yeah. What is it like to be me? Welcome to the most boring show of all time. I'm excited for. Oh no, it's just my deep self-deprecating humor. This is a great show. Everyone who's tuned in already. Oh, it's great. We probably had the same professor then. It's amazing. Yeah. Oh, were you the other dumbest kid in school? Awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of
That was
dumb
me.
kid, my mic was also muted during that whole conversation, so at least we could hear you. And half of the jokes.
Yeah, if people like improv, they were just doing it for you. They were taking what I was saying and then filling in the words. It's perfect.
Yeah.
We know our audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good times. Good times. But see, this is what happens when you work long hours.
Yeah. You produce the best content. I hear what you're saying.
Ever.
I get it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell my Discord that we're live.
Let's go.
Somebody might show up to the live. So far, no one has, but I can see
That's okay.
we have excellent streaming conditions, so that's,
Optimal,
that's
I think
good.
is the word.
Yeah.
Penultimum.
Hey, I see a viewer.
Welcome
Welcome.
to the Xbox Now pre-show.
Yes. Okay.
I think I've accidentally consumed 3 cups of coffee in 2 minutes, so this is going to be a fast show.
I went with the vanilla chai this morning because I'm gonna be into the pre-workout right after the show, and I didn't want to over caffeinate. So
Yeah, you didn't want to go so hard. You have a specific body type in mind, and if you did both, you might get too jacked. I hear what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah.
That's your biggest fear.
Yes.
Getting too jacked and not watching Hamilton.
Too jacked.
I've got you. Got you pegged.
You really do. Really do. Well, the notifications have gone out. Let's get this started. Hey, there's Hoffman. What's up, buddy? How are you? Here we go. Let's see. XMP2. This is it. This should do it. Let's go. It is the Xbox Now podcast. I'm your host, Josh Schmidt. Andy, the co-host. What's going on?
Hey, Josh. I feel like we need a jingle for our morning news show. Have you ever watched Community? It's like Josh and Andy in the morning.
There you go. You just wrote it. You just sang it.
Stole it from Community.
It's done. It is done. So this is a half-hour news show. We do weekly Wednesday mornings. We'll just call it around 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern. And we're live on YouTube on the Xbox Now channel. So come hang out. Subscribe. All the good stuff. All the calls to action right there. There you go.
Right there. Nailed it.
Nailed it. So we got Xbox news to talk about. I went hands-on with Biomutant last night, and Biomutant it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. The game feels a little bit clunky. The graphics, screenshots look amazing, right? But
Hmm.
then when you're actually playing the game, it doesn't look quite as good.
Okay.
It's like if you take a really nice, I don't know, photo and then try to animate it. That's kind of the vibe I get when I'm looking at it. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. So I know it's not like a huge team, and it's not a triple A game. And so
Right.
I mean it obviously is gonna get some passes, but like I personally I just I wasn't feeling it, but I still have more to go. I got to get into it a little bit more and and see if it eventually pulls me in. But as of right now, I'm not enjoying it all that much. So I'm gonna turn it over to you to ask any questions you might have about Biomutant.
Yeah, of course. Just let me grab something real quick. I'm gonna get my soapbox. I'm gonna set this bad boy down first.
Okay.
This is something that I saw on Twitter that is driving me wild, right? It just seems like the dichotomy of the gating audience like is incongruent. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's a paradox. So people get upset about the consolidation of the industry and the movement towards more and more AAA titles only, right? And so what that requires is more resources. So bigger publishers have to buy studios, absorb them, integrate them, and every time that happens, people lose their mind. And then you've got a studio that's producing something like Biomutants, and they have to fill the expectations of marketing and demand of a AAA game, but they're a small studio crafting a brand new experience and a brand new IP. And yet, if it's not AAA, it's not good enough. And so there's this weird tethering back and forth. And me personally, I haven't played the game yet, but I miss that kind of last generation AA level game that saw developers trying new things. And so it's just kind of like I think people have to start level setting their expectations. Uh, Game studios like this will live and die on reviews and community feedback. And so if we ever wanted to see the promise of Biomutants 2 fulfilled, I think there's just kind of an overall readjustment that's needed. And so I'm curious about your experience. I think for a small studio, I love the world. Like, what do you think about the world itself? Like the world that they've built, the concepts itself, because the character art, the world itself looks really engaging. Did it feel that way as you jumped into it? Maybe not so much from a fidelity perspective, but like, hey, my imagination is satiated.
I, and again, I mean, it's gonna differ from person to person, right? That's what's difficult about reviews. You've got to try to find somebody that you really feel resonates with you. I mean, as you guys are watching this, if you are watching and not just listening, we've got Doom as the B-roll again today, and this is a game that's up my alley, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I love adventure games. I love Zelda. I love Fable. So far in the amount of time I've put into Biomutant, like probably 45 minutes so far, maybe around
Okay.
that. Nothing like nothing was really pulling me in. Now, as my character like levels up, maybe starts to learn some more moves, maybe then it will draw me in a little bit more. But I just felt like the combat, for instance, it
Mm.
just didn't really have that like this is fun. it it it
Ooh.
it didn't draw me in. There was one cool animation where your character would slide between the legs of one of the larger enemies that you were fighting. But other than that, it just didn't really feel like in games when the weapons can kind of feel heavy or they feel like they're really connecting with something.
Mm-hmm.
This game doesn't really have that. You're carrying this massive sword, and it's almost like you're buttering toast versus like
Oh,
hitting an object. If it,
interesting.
that's kind of the best way I
Oh,
could
it makes perfect sense.
I could describe
Yeah.
it. Like it the and I also wonder it like because like you fire your gun, you run out of ammo, and then it says on the screen click 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 click, like almost like old school Batman, like Biff pow, like I'm talking 1960s Batman. And it's like this it almost feels like the game is an identity crisis a little bit. Like it looks like it's all serious and post-apocalyptic, and then you see comic book click 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 show up on the screen, and then you
Right.
run into this character that like is supposed to be like an Elvis style of character, and he's always like like while he's talking, that's the noise that's in the background. And I it just made it feel like there was a like an identity crisis here. I was just like, what is this game supposed to be, corny and funny, or is this supposed to be like serious post-apocalyptic? And so it really just it was not drawing me in like I was hoping it would.
Well, that makes sense. I might have hopped up on my soapbox prematurely then. Just purely because games that aren't AAA, I want a space for them to exist and succeed, but you have to have the core mechanics down, right? So if you're an action adventure RPG, the combat should feel pretty good, right? Because that's the main loop of the game. And so uh, if there are underlying issues, the world might not be for you, kind of that makes sense. But if you can't nail or even just be in that kind of like 8.5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 range when everything else might need more time and polish, that's a bigger hurdle to get over. Do you feel like spending some, like, how much time do you think you'll spend more? I know it's a subjective question, but do you feel at this point that you're going to want to try to get through the game in its entirety, or is it more I'm going to give this a chance moving forward, but I don't know how far I'll make it?
If after 45 minutes of playing it doesn't draw me in, it's hard to go back to, right? But
Yeah.
it could be a slow start, right? Like the first 45 minutes was kind of like tutorial, going through, the different, just all the different things. But
I've heard the game is pretty system heavy. Like it drops a ton of systems on you pretty early. Um, did you feel like it was overwhelming or exciting in that way?
not, I mean, maybe a little bit. It let's go back to the combat a little bit more. It
Yeah.
felt like when you play like Arkham City or Ninja Gaiden or Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, right? You attack an enemy, then you easily move to another one. It almost like it's like got that like auto lock kind of thing. This kind of has that, but it just did not feel very smooth. Like, and so
Yeah.
again, I'm left kind of wondering like what, like, so far I could not see what the major draw to this game is. Now maybe it's the RPG side of things when it really starts going that way. I mean, think about a game like Mass Effect. That game
Hmm.
initially a little bit clunky when you're using the low end, the lower leveled weapons. That was an intentional design.
Right.
So I am going to give this game more time. I don't feel the draw to give it more time, but I want to give it the game was provided to me by THQ Nordic, and I want to make sure that I give it a good run just to make sure it yeah, I could be eating these words next week. But I think in the time we live, where gaming, for some people their game time is sacred. If after 45 minutes you're not being drawn in, you may not want to drop the coin on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a huge thing in our landscape today is respecting players' time. There's a lot of choice, there's a lot of IP out there, and so I mean, I think about this title as a small studio being as delayed as long as it has been, and then the effects of COVID. I'm wondering kind of how much of a decision this launch window was for them in terms of like a development goal of how polished they'd like to be versus having to meet some kind of studio goals or publisher goals. Um, but I'm excited to try it out, frankly. I love the aesthetic. I can forgive a lot if the world gets me there. And seeing some of what they have in later stages in the systems, I certainly want to try it out. But it's on a wait and see list for me right now to kind of get the full rundown from folks because I know that reviews have been all over the map for this one.
Yeah, and I've seen tweets of some people that are like, "Oh, I'm totally loving it," and I've seen tweets for other people that are like, "Yeah, this is not for me." That's really where it's been. It's just been a really a mixed bag. So, I would say please don't just take my word on it. Go and watch multiple reviews. Go and check out some other articles and from other outlets, and so you can hopefully make an informed purchase. But if you're more of a first person shooter, but you still love Zelda, if that kind of describes this, it may not be a game for you. That's how I'll put it. But if you're into
Fair
more
enough.
of like the kind of indie games and stuff that might be perceived as a little corny or whatever, and I don't mean that in any kind of negative way, you may love it. It may really resonate with you. So don't just take my
Do
word for
you?
it. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you? So, you went hands on with Knockout City. I didn't get a chance to try it. Tell me about Knockout City.
Oh, I mean, if you've been on Twitter over the last week, you've probably seen a bunch of people hopping on this bandwagon. I downloaded it the day it came out, and I only have super positive things to say. Um, you can check out kind of the full download of our thoughts over on the website xboxnow.tv. But basically, I've spent 4 to 6 hours playing this amazing new multiplayer suite from Velen Studios. And so they're based in Brooklyn. They pulled together what ultimately is a 3v3 or 1v1 dodge brawl game, as they call it. And so what I really love about this game, kind of set like at the top level, the aesthetics are super fun. I think it can be hard to establish a new IP revolving around multiplayer in the current state of that environment, especially free to play. You've got Fortnite, you've got Warzone. There's a lot of ways to stand out. And so picking the Art Deco 1950s cyberpunk aesthetic, this brighter type of cyberpunk, I'm here for it. It is sweet. And it leads into kind of your own character customization. But it's really apparent to me that Velen took their time to build this core gameplay experience from the ground up. And it's really fun because it's one of those few titles that doesn't, if you're watching it just kind of hands off, whether you're watching a stream or you're watching some clips on Twitter, it doesn't really do it justice because it can look like, okay, I run around with my other two squad mates, picking up dodgeballs, throwing it at them, but there's not a lot of precision aiming like first person shooters, and maybe I can catch a dodgeball and that's about it. But they have just the best systems built in this game. So you have a series of very simple moves like jump, glide, double jump, catch, throw, and dodge. And then that combined with gameplay and the emerging strategy in the game makes it uh, unbelievably a finesse style sport because they just start to layer in this level of strategy playing one on one. And so I found myself in my first game being like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Everyone's at the same level. And then you get that fun kind of day one experience where you see some people start to figure it out in matches. Oh my God, you can curve the ball. How did that guy do that? Okay, I'm going to figure that out. And by the end of the day, you start finding your routines and getting into it. And so I found myself sucked in to a multiplayer experience and having as much fun as something like playing Warzone for the first time. So I was pretty excited about that.
Oh, this is I've seen nothing but positive stuff about this game, and we've seen other games recently launched that were kind of these multiplayer arena style games that have really not done very well. Like Ninjala was one of them, and
Mm-hmm.
and so
Destruction All Stars.
Yeah, and so it's great to see that so many people are excited about this one, and I'm excited to download it and give it a go. Now, did you get to play with any buddies or anything like that, or was it just mostly solo?
Yeah, it was primarily solo, but you can tell right out of the box that if you get lined up with people who have a mic and are interested in playing it together, the level of strategy and competitive nature jumps up a whole nother bar. And so through my gameplay experience, because it was over the first couple of days, I actually ended up getting paired up. Someone in one of my lobbies watched me dunk on a couple fools and invited me into a crew. And so although they were strangers, the ability to start to communicate with one another is amazing. The systems are pretty cool. If you hit someone with a dodgeball and they don't catch it, you have to hit them twice, and then they're knocked out, and it's a point for the other team. There's 3 rounds up to 10. But for instance, you as a player can curl up into a ball, and your teammate can pick you up and throw you. And so not only is that hilarious and awesome, it
Right.
also is an incentive. So if they throw you and you hit another player, they're automatically KO'd. So you instead of having to hit them twice, it's just once with you. So it leads to these amazing instances where you see a one-on-one battle going on between your teammate and they don't have a dodgeball, and you just roll in as a little ball and they pick you up, and you change the shift of the game completely. It's just the tide of battle shifts, and it's fun because every system has a counterbalance answer. Like if you're rolling around, an enemy can pick you up and throw you off the map. And so you can't just be rolling around in a ball
Interesting.
willy nilly. Yeah, so it's one of those things where you're like, okay, sounds interesting, but then there's always an answer. And so the really well crafted gameplay loop and mechanics make this game an incredible amount of fun. Uh, yeah, so I've been enjoying it a lot. I hope that it can and stick around. I am a little bit worried about the overall strategy that EA is taking with this title. It's free to play with EA Play or Game Pass Ultimate, and it's over the last week they've been having a welcoming event. They call it Block Party, but I believe they're moving to make this a $20 title. And so with a competitive landscape of so many quality uh, games as a service that are free to play, like Fortnite, I get worried about them building this positive buzz and then people who are really into that type of experience because it's set up to do exactly what Fortnite does. There's a lot of cosmetics. You level up over the course of your games to update your character's skin and accessories. And so that $20 barrier feels a little bit prohibitive. I don't know if they'll change that strategy or backpedal on it, but that would be my one concern is, like you said, you got to respect the player's time. So if you're asking for $20 when you're a brand new IP, no matter how fun it is, people who have invested in ecosystems like Fortnite might just go back to Fortnite or Rocket League or any of those titles. So yeah, I had a blast.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear, and I totally see where you're coming from there with that $20 price tag. Chat is wanting to know if there is a practice mode where you can dodge wrenches. You know, I'm guessing that is not the case, but I do love the reference.
I love it too. Joking aside, they do have a nice environment and a tutorial system. They encourage you to do a training out in this open sandbox. You start to learn the mechanics of traversal because if you jump in right away, it will feel a little unevenly matched because you're just going to be shooting the dark and people are going to be, I don't know. Have you ever see that James McAvoy vehicle with Angelina Jolie Wanted where they bend bullets?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
how you're going to be one of the nameless henchmen on the other side. You're like, this guy can't bend bullets.
Yeah.
And it's going to be over. So
Yeah.
take advantage of that suite. And maybe if we are loud enough, they'll add wrenches because you got to dodge, dip, dodge, duck, dodge.
Yeah. Yeah. All the all the D's there. Love it. So the rumor mill is churning out the rumors. And well, this is more like I don't know necessarily a rumor, but more like speculation town based on a tweet that went out with the photo of a Hot Wheel branded with Forza Horizon, which has everybody thinking we might see another collaboration with Hot Wheels and Forza. Now, I was on the Xbox Factor podcast, which you guys really should go check out if you haven't ever heard of that one. And I'm actually going to be a regular on the Thursday show for the next at least month, I think. I don't know the exact, but I'm going to be a regular there filling in for somebody that's working on a project with Ubisoft. So we talked about this on there yesterday as well. But Andy, I just got to ask you, did you play Forza Horizon 3 and the Hot Wheel DLC?
Oh, yeah. So, about me personally, I'm not a huge racing fan. It's
Okay.
not in my DNA, but I don't know if you remember this. It had to have been early 2000s. There was a Hot Wheel PC game where you'd have life-size tracks set up in a backyard, and all you had to do as it was going is you use the directional arrows to control the rotation of the car. And so as soon as I saw in Forza that they do a partnership with Hot Wheels, I was all over it. And it was an amazing experience. So if this rumor turns out to be true, even though I don't line up with racing fans, I will be there day one for sure because it's a great experience. Did you get to tune into that? Is this something? Where's your hype meter at? Is it?
So, like I talked about it yesterday, I said on that show when I saw that Forza 4 had a Lego collab, I was kind of like, okay, it's cool. I love Legos, don't get me wrong, but Hot Wheels was just such a perfect fit, and honestly kind of hoped that we were going to see it again. And so if this ends up being true, I'm all in. Day one, let's go, because it's I'm here for it. I am here for it. That holiday that dropped, that was the main game we played. We had family come stay with us, and we would just pass the controller around, racing on the orange tracks, and seeing plastic dinosaurs, and the whole deal. Like it was a lot of fun.
It's funny because it's a perspective shift on reality when you're kind of at that, just what they did to be in Hot Wheels and having like the plastic dinosaurs and the environments. But that shift just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it brought me back to when I was playing with Hot Wheels specifically. That it just tapped into my imagination the same way when I was a kid. Like, okay, this is where this racetrack is. It's in the jungle, or it's outside, or it's like I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman like guarding the jumps,
Yep.
And so that kind of thing gets me really excited.
I got you. And chat saying Rust Belt Kitty saying it will be on Game Pass. Of course, I'll try it out. So if it's like the past games, keep in mind the Hot Wheels stuff will be DLC that you will have to purchase. If this all plays out the way it's played out in the past, the main game is available on Game Pass, but like the Lego and the Hot Wheels stuff, I'm at least it was true with the Lego. It's been so long. I think 3 was, I don't even think Game Pass was a thing back then. So, but I think if you check out 3 now on Game Pass, I'm pretty sure you'd still have to purchase the Lego or the Hot Wheel DLC. So just keep that in mind. It's worth every penny in my mind. I really enjoy the Forza series, especially the Horizon series. I love the arcade style game. Like I really, really enjoy it. And so I will gladly throw, I think I threw an extra $25 at, I think all of the DLC was on sale for Horizon 4 a few weeks ago. And I pulled the trigger on that just because it's worth it to me. I really, really, really enjoyed that series. And as we were chatting yesterday, I was watching, he was using some Forza as B-roll. And he was doing a run on a Halo ring in a Warthog, and I was like, what is this, and why have I not played this yet? Because this is awesome, So I gotta jump back in and check that out for sure. Lastly, we got a couple minutes left here.
Yeah.
Xbox and Bethesda are doing a combined E3 presentation. And Andy, I'd just like your thoughts on that real quick. Like, what do you... I don't think this is very surprising, right? But it still means we could either have, like, there could be a very long presentation, like, because I really think Xbox is going to come out. They're gonna come right out of the, they're gonna come out of their corner swinging, right?
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be, this is make it or break it time for Xbox, and I think E3 is really gonna be their time to shine, and with the Bethesda now in their corner as well. One, we could have a very long presentation, but two, we could be seeing a lot of incredible games. So what are your thoughts?
So as you can tell, my hype for this is high. I am a fatal optimist. I want to believe so badly that each E3, I think my expectations go a wee bit too high. I think that like you said, it's a no-brainer that they spent this time, energy, and most importantly, a huge investment on bringing Bethesda under the Xbox Microsoft banner. And so to show that alignment going forward, to me, is a step in the direction of making that distinction between the IP. As we know, since this has been announced, it's just constant within the gaming community on the console war area, which I try not to spend too much time in. But there's so many pieces of IP that belong to Bethesda that everyone wants to see stay multi-platform. And so I think it sends the wrong message to do a separate Bethesda and Microsoft conference. But this is just one way that they can communicate. Yeah, like we are one, and it's continuing to step forward of you don't spend $7.8 billion to have games on every platform. It's more to be in the Xbox ecosystem. I think the other aspect that gets me worried about this, if I take off my optimist hat and say, okay, we're going to see all of the kind of updates on the big titles that we're interested in, like Starfield, what's happening over in the Wolfenstein world and everything like that, would be they have to make it a 1-2 punch. COVID has been a little bit brutal. A lot of their energy has been in improving the launch for Halo Infinite, and that'll be a cornerstone certainly for this presentation. But we need to highlight Bethesda because we aren't ready in a lot of other departments. That could be the scary read. That's what I'm kind of got double fingers crossed hoping that this move is a way to establish that brand rather than saying, yeah, we're going to come out swinging, but a bunch of it is just this more Bethesda. So that's where I'm at right now.
You shut your dang mouth. Just that there's no place for this negativity here. There's going to be nothing but games. You can't do this to me, man. You can't do this to me. I'm
a small child who's just afraid, you know? It's like Christmas morning and you wanted the Optimus Prime toy and you're just like, you know in your gut that your mom might be like, oh, Optimus Prime and this B-roll character that's like half as much are basically the same. And so you're just like worried, you know? You believe in your mom. You love your mom, you know?
She's gonna get you the GoBot.
She's gonna get the GoBot. There's like I mean, I believe with everything that's happening in Xbox and just the level of strategy and transparency that they've had, that they are gearing up for a huge E3. And it gets me really excited. I want to temper expectations and also just be honest about if taking a critical eye from the other side of things, there is a risk. I mean, people have huge expectations for games, but we've seen over 20 titles shift out of the 2021 window because of COVID, because of the challenges out here. And so sometimes I like to temper my expectations so then they're always exceeded. You know, it's just that mental game that I'm playing. So I apologize to everyone out there for putting that in your brain. Actually, I'm not sorry.
We're all sad now, so thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
If the Halo multiplayer beta is out now after the Xbox presentation, where's your hype level then? No matter what games are shown, if there's a beta that's out now, where are your hype levels?
Oh, I mean, that's it. Like literally to sell me on. I mean, obviously that means they have enough confidence to release it to the public after pushing it for a year. So if they come out and they go, hell yeah, beta's up, that to me seals the deal. I will be interested in everything that has to be said, and I will, with a critical eye and a journalistic intent, go back and listen to everything, but the gamer in me will be on the moon, you know?
And as I said on the Xbox Factor podcast yesterday, you won't have to buy Crackdown to play this beta.
Please let me buy Crackdown again. I'll do it just for the feels, you know?
I got you. Well, Andy, tell everybody where they can find you.
Check me out on Twitter. My handle is AYE, my name is Andy, or A, my name is Andy. That's where I'm most active. I do have a video game news podcast called Lame Boy Games. You can find that wherever you listen. We're on a current hiatus right now. We'll probably be returning after E3, but we do have quite a good backlog. So if you like just hanging out, listen to different takes on the industry as a whole across all platforms, give it a listen. Josh, where can people find you? You're ubiquitous in this space, aren't you?
I'm everywhere at N64Josh. Of course, check out xboxnow.tv. We've got more articles on the way and a lot of exciting things happening. You're also going to find me Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern on the Xbox Factor podcast. Appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you in the next one.